Hello, everyone. It's Jennifer McCollum with the Parent Teens Club. I am here today with a very special guest, Kim Muench. And Kim is a JAI certified parent coach. She is a writer, she's a speaker, and get this, a mother of 5. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm so happy to be with you today.
I feel like we should be applauding. Mother of 5, yeah!
Oh.
And you look so fabulous.
Oh, thank you. It's part of having good self-care, which I think is really important when you're parenting teenagers.
That's something we often forget about, right?
Absolutely.
Well, Kim, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into becoming a parent coach? Tell us a little bit about your story.
Yes, I'm happy to. So as you mentioned, I have 5 children. At this point, my youngest is 14 and my only daughter, and my oldest is 31. But what precipitated my going into not only looking at my own parenting, but in helping other parents as well, is when my oldest was 20, I got a phone call from him that he'd fallen into an addiction to alcohol and drugs. And it was in navigating that situation and looking at the way that I was parenting, the way that my parents had parented me, and therefore the way I was parenting, how that had affected and encouraged certain behaviors in him. And so while working on helping him find long-term sobriety, and he's about to be 9 years sober, so I'm just so incredibly happy for him and the choices that he has made. I also really began to look at parenting in general and have a passion for wanting to help parents before a crisis hit. So that is what took me to become a certified parent coach. And now I specialize in working with parents of teens because I think that they're under-supported, under-encouraged, and because I'm still in it, I'm still, with my youngest 2 being 14 and 16, boy and girl, I'm right there in the thick of things. So, I feel like I can give others what I'm also, going through myself, and not be far removed from it. So.
Thank you for sharing your story with us, Kim. And I knew the first time that I met you that we'd be good friends because you are so open about your journey. And I think it's one of the things that if you're new to parenting teens, to that world, you're feeling a lot of, unsure about what to do, but you're maybe feeling some like shame or that you're the only one going through whatever it is you're going through. And you're not, and I just love how open and vulnerable you are to just share your story and allow us to share ours with you too. I imagine you are an amazing parent coach that that parents can find a lot of great connection to you, because I have just meeting you twice now. I feel like we could be best friends. But so Kim is here to share some wonderful advice with us. Kim has 5 essential elements for us to help us parent teens. So Kim, tell us what those, well, start with the first one. What is the first essential element we need as we're parenting our teens?
So I think the first essential element you need is faith. And by that, I mean faith in yourself. I feel like in the culture that we're living in, we think our teens there's so much messages and influence coming into them. And really, I think the same can be said for parents, especially parents of teenagers. How we feel as if we have to have our kids in all upper level classwork at school or involved in some travel team sport or whatever it is. There's this pressure that we want to keep our kids up with the neighborhood kids and whatever. And I feel like while there's value in parents connecting during the teen years, for sure, there is also huge value in knowing when to tap into your own inner wisdom, where your unique child is, concerned, and to set aside what's going on in our culture, and whether or not that serves your family. And I think having faith in yourself to be able to find that intuition is one of the things I help moms with, is, being able to set aside that noise and listen to your own inner wisdom, because we all have it. So having faith in oneself is absolutely the first element.
That's wonderful. And I'm glad you brought up the word intuition, because we all have this gut feeling, right? We
Yeah.
all know the way we want to live, and oftentimes society pushes us another way. And just to have faith in ourselves to make the right decision, I think is incredibly powerful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What's your
Yes. So the element is calm. There are so many things that we can, as parents today, be fearful of, right? We live in a culture of scarcity. We live in a culture that there's not enough and we have to compete at everything that we're doing. And I think developing a sense of calm, which really kind of correlates with self-care, and I understand that we're all busy and it's a matter of making your self-care a priority. We're all, there's 100 different directions that we could be going in, but the ability to stay calm while your kids are going through, understanding that they're going to have bumps in the road. This is just the nature of adolescence, and to not feed into the anxiety. For example, my daughter, my 14-year-old, has a lot of anxiety, and she can get herself into panic attacks. It does not help if I am anxious on top of that. You need, as a parent, to be at your child's grounding, your child's place to have feelings, big feelings, and just be able to hold space for them while they're doing that and allow them to have those feelings. And because feelings go through us, we don't want them to tamper them, down and shove them down, because
Mhm.
lots of adults are now working through things that they shove down as kids. And so we want our kids to recognize their feelings and have those feelings and be that safe place for them to have that. So in order to do that, in order to be emotionally available to our children, we have to be taking good care of ourselves and remaining calm.
And that's a great lesson to learn. I can say that that was a tough one for me to go through, because sometimes when you're transitioning to a new stage with your kids or a new experience, that you often don't feel very calm. So that was something I really had to learn. And it is really incredible, the outcome, when you can remain calm and kind of be that rock for your kids.
Mm-hmm.
They are going through a lot when they become teenagers.
Right. And though we remember that on some level, we're also in a different space, and we want to protect our kids from things that, we don't want them to go through, maybe something that we went through or whatever. And sometimes that anxiety, our anxiety, certainly isn't helpful to our kids. And we have to remember that they're not us. They're like our children, they're on their unique journey. And that does not mean that they're going to make exactly the same choices. And fear breeds disconnection. We need to come from a place of love and connecting with our kids. So again, calm is the second most important thing to have while you're parenting teens.
And they're not us. I think I'm going to put that in big bold letters when I go to replay this video. They're not us, right? We have to remember that. That's my big takeaway so far. Okay, number 3,
Yeah.
tell us another.
Number three is courage. And courage meaning, I have a course that I do with moms, and it's the courage to stand on your own parenting island. Again, it kind of goes back to faith a little bit, faith in yourself, but then it also means that you have to have courage. There are times when, as parents, we kind of go through the motions because all the other parents are saying okay, or all, for example, in our house, I learned early on sleepovers just didn't work for our family for whatever reason, or several reasons that I won't go into. We just made a decision that, and when my daughter was young, it didn't so much matter with my boys. They didn't really care whether they slept over or not, or had people sleep over. Basically, my daughter, though, from an early age was pushing and pushing, and I had mom feedback, mom saying at 6 and 7 and 8, like, okay, we live across the street, like, why wouldn't you let her sleep over? And it was just something that we had put into place for our own family, for our own reasons. And I had to remain, steadfast in that. And what's funny is I knew this would happen, but several years later, now our girls are 14, and parents are like, man, I wish I would have done the no sleepover rule, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
see, you try and learn as you go. And so having the courage to, again, live out and stand in, whether it's with your child or it's with other parents, to know yourself well and to be grounded in what your boundaries are. I mean, know your boundaries and be grounded in what those are, and not like make it be a power or battle thing with your child, but in a space of, this is where we're at. There's non-negotiables. These are the non-negotiables, and having the courage to stand in that. So number 3 is courage.
I'm so glad you brought up courage, because it would be so easy to, if someone is questioning your parenting or your decisions that you're making. And I think for me, it kind of became easier with each one, but also kind of growing into that it's okay to make our own decisions and have boundaries. There's nothing wrong with boundaries, and there's nothing wrong with having house rules and guidelines. I mean, those are really beneficial to raising kids, but to have the courage
Yes, I mean,
to stand up to questioning about it
yes,
is a whole nother
yes.
thing. And I'm glad that is one of your points.
Yes, and like I said, in the way that I parent my kids personally is, there are certain non-negotiables, very few, just a very few of them, and then I give them lots of choice. They have lots of choices in most of their lives, and because I want them to stumble and fall and and figure out where their path lies. It's not about me. It's about them. But there certainly has to be some structure in place. So the number 4 thing that I think you need to have as parenting your teen is patience. And patience for the fact that your kids are going to stumble, as I just said. They are going to make mistakes. It's funny because I think a lot of times we expect more from our kids than we do from ourselves, oddly enough, if that makes sense. Or we put this level, they're growing into this, let's say it's a son and 5'4", and he looks like this adult, and most of the time he's got a great head on his shoulders, and then he makes a mistake or he makes a choice that's that is something you would rather not have him do, and immediately we get upset and disappointed in our kids. And I feel like this is the time, if you remember back, how many times did you make mistakes or choices that you wish you wouldn't have made during this period of time? And I think to have patience with the fact that our kids are going to go through ups and downs during this, and to love them and guide them through it rather than trying to control them through it. I mean, I'm a huge proponent for parenting with rather than over our children. It is about them, coming through us or being adopted, coming into our lives, but not for us, but for themselves. And we're blessed to be able to guide them through this time.
That's wonderful. I can see that you would be, just that tip alone would be worth connecting with you as a parent coach, like how to be patient. Right?
It takes practice too. It's not, we live in a culture that's like, give me the 3-step quick thing to, get this done. And it is a practice. It is not you learn it and you're done with it. To this day, this is having patience as a practice, and needing to tell myself things like, she's not me. This is, don't bring fear of what you did at 14 into the situation, because she is not, she's not you. So yes, patience is the last one. And then the 5th one, I think most important, or a culmination, grace. And grace meaning giving yourself grace when you have maybe not handled a situation with your child the way you wanted to. Giving your child some grace. Again, I think it's important that we have certain structure in place for our kids around their sleep and screen time and those kinds of things, but giving them lots of choices and understanding that this is their time to really figure out who they are. And our role is really to support and guide them, and not to inflict our agenda onto them. So
that's so hard to remember. So I'm glad you just made that one of your points. And I'd love each one. So to recap these 5 essential elements that we need to parent our teens: we need faith, we need calm, we need courage, we need patience, and we need grace.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
that is
wonderful.
We do. All of those. That doesn't sound so hard. Okay.
You know, it's like I said, overall, it's a practice. It is practice, all of those things.
What we didn't
Some
talk
days are better than others.
Oh, right, exactly. Sorry to interrupt there. What we didn't talk about at the beginning is how parents can connect with you. So you're a JAI certified parent coach. Now, do you do your coaching through Zoom, on the phone, in person?
I do it through Zoom, FaceTime, and in person. So I have a home office. I live in the Dallas area. So people can connect with me in person that way. But I also do a lot of my work via Zoom like this, or Skype, or those kind of, opportunities. I do workshops for like small groups of parents that want to come in and do workshops. I also have a community group that I lead called Moms Empowering Moms. It's all about helping moms with teens get through this stage with some encouragement and support. And the thing about it is, it's not, I don't particularly like the term expert. I get so much from the moms that I work with as well. Like, it's amazing how I get probably just as much as I give, I feel like. So I think we can all help each other. It's a matter of communicating and being open and honest.
You're so humble, but I know you give a lot as well. But I do agree that connection is so important. So what I'll do after our chat, Kim, is that I'll provide links so that if any of you want to reach out to Kim, you know how to find her. And I'll also have a PDF print off of those 5 essential elements that we're all going to be so great at. But Kim, can you leave us? I always like to ask if you can leave our parent community with one kind of nugget to take away, one thing that we can take and maybe get a quick win as we're parenting our teens.
Sure. I believe really that we cannot be parenting our children today, whether they're teens or younger or whatever, in the same way that our parents parented us. We've got to evolve, just like everything else in the world. Parenting needs to evolve to a place of parenting with our children rather than over our children. You can tell the quality of the relationship with a parent and a child when a parent is using control and fear and punishment, or a parent who's parenting along with their child and really building a connection. Things like drugs and screen time and apps and things, they're always going to be there. The best defense we have is the quality of the relationship we have with our children. And so I think that parenting really needs to evolve to a place where we're parenting with rather than over. That's my wisdom for the moment.
With rather than over. So more connection, communication.
Yeah. And that takes time and it takes effort. And yes, we're all busy, but the reality is we're in this for the long term. And when our children grow up, we want to have good relationships with them and be involved in our grandchildren's lives if they come into the picture. And I mean, this is a parenting phase, and we shouldn't be white knuckling through it. We should be building the relationship that we want to have for a lifetime with our children.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much, Kim.
You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing your awesomeness with us. And I hope you come back and share some more with us, because you are just full of good advice and helpful tips that I know I'm going to take away a lot of what you said and try and implement them as I'm raising teens. So
awesome. I appreciate you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Kim. We'll see you again.
Okay.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks.